Let me start by saying peace and welcome to everyone watching this, to everyone viewing this. I also would like to thank Melanie and Jasmine, the curators of Winedownsessions, for inviting me to be a part of their community at this time. It's a moment where we really do need community. And I'm going to go into that more as the video continues. A wellness check-in. Honestly, at this time, to be completely transparent, y'all, I've come into a moment of unknowing, not knowing exactly which energy to latch onto and which ones to let go of. Coming into a moment of just awareness, right? And so realizing what's happening around us, realizing that things that have held our society together are no longer able to sustain, or not sustain, they're not even welcome, right? Because we are going into a period of renewal. And so um not saying that I'm not feeling the frustration, the sadness, the desperation for liberation, the feeling of it's now, it's time, it's now, it's time, the feeling of that push towards something better than, towards a new kind of future. And so we were provided with different things to identify with. And a few of them were the weavers, the builders, the visionaries, the frontline responders, the caregivers, the experimenters. And so honestly, I do feel that in a way we all connect with all of those, just not at once. And so today I'm going to speak on myself as a visionary. So the visionary aspect of me is seeing that the individualistic way that American society has been ran and has been governed under, the it's me at the top and I'm making it to the top by stepping on whatever backs I have to. Now it's a point where it's no more just I, it's no more just me, it's a we, it's a collective, it's a common, it's a community. And so I want to get into the root word of community, that's COM, meaning togetherness, meaning to be with, and the words that's a representation of that, words such as person starting off with community, that's common and unity. Um, what do we all have in common besides us living and breathing through these times? We have a resonance, right? That's something that we all have in common. We have a resonance to this earth. We have a connection to each other. And that community, that common unity is what's going to pull us through. I honestly and truly believe that with everything within me. Um, Also, words with calm, compassion, companionship, commitment. Where else? Compound, combine. So really combining our forces, combining what talents, natural, given, God driven, and forces that we have, that we function with, that we know at our core is what we resonate with. That is what we are being challenged to bring to the table. So we can all build, so we can all be in common unity, so we can all sustain as a whole, and not as there's some at the top, some in the middle, some at the bottom, but equity, a point of balance. I definitely know that this is a point of restoration, right? We're restoring balance, we're restoring justice, we're restoring liberation of our people. And however you genuinely show up, that's it. That's it. However you can genuinely show up. So yeah, y'all. Visionary, I wrote this part down, so let me not forget to say this. Visionary, imagining a future where the people are the designers of a new way of life, building and sustaining from community, unifying as a whole to restore balance, liberation, and justice. That's what we're working towards, y'all. The entire universe is working towards this with us. And so we are not alone in any of this. Take care of your well-being, take care of your health, take care of your mental. Do what feels good for you, as long as it's not coming to harm of anyone else or anything else.
I am a Black woman. I am a single mother to a Black boy. I have a Black boyfriend. I have Black friends. I have Black brothers. I have a Black father. I am Black. um, so I have a range of emotions. At the beginning of the COVID-19, everything's going down. I was curious. I am a Black STEMist as well, so I have my degree in my bachelor's in chemistry, and I'm very interested in research. I've done a lot of research on different biomedical applications, and have been so curious since it started. I have been reading articles, trying to get information to basically understand what this is, where we are, how does this affect us. I have taken it very seriously from the beginning, because it's an attack. I don't want to say it's an attack, but it is a wake-up call to basically take care of our community. Our community has to take care of our health. Our community has to take care of ourselves, our people, our family members. Our community needs to wake up and realize that we don't have the resources that we thought we did. You know, that although the rest of the world is not as prepared, I feel like we definitely got the short end of the stick from the beginning. I've had to adjust to not only working remotely, which I am blessed, thank God, that I have the opportunity to work remotely. And I'm definitely helping out those who I know who are not as fortunate as I am. But I'm also trying to adjust to teaching my Black child. So definitely an adjustment. The school has been making an adjustment. My son has been making an adjustment. And I don't think a lot of people have realized that in itself is really frustrating. I have a third grader. That's one of those like assessment periods. You know, there's third grade, there's sixth grade, and there's eighth grade that they take these big tests. Where are those tests at now? You know, so I'm frustrated about that. So then there was George Floyd, and that video shook me, just like any other video that I've seen of a Black man or a Black woman or a Black child being attacked and being unnecessarily murdered due to police brutality. It was very disheartening for me, because I also had to explain this to my Black child and say, my Black boy, and say, hey, this is your reality, which is really hard for me to explain to him, because although I'm Black just like him, I'm not saying that Black women don't go through the same thing, but it's harder as a Black woman to explain to him, who's going to be a Black man one day, that this is what you got to do. This is how you act when you're with a police officer. This is how you act when you're around police officers. This is how you act when you're around white people.
As far as how I'm feeling personally about everything that's going on, it's really not affecting me emotionally. I don't know, it's because I'm just a nonchalant guy or whatever. But what happened and what's been happening is not right. So everything that's happening because of it, I mean, in my mind, in my eyes, it's like it is what it is. It's all part of it. Is it right? No. But what's happening to Black people all over the world, in the country, the U.S. specifically, that's not right either. That's actually worse. So people doing what they feel like is right. Of course, you got opportunists and people looting and not. That's messed up, especially for people with black-owned business, but it's all part of it. You got to take the good with the bad. I mean, we see justice coming. They locking them up. I think a lot of police thinking twice about what they doing now. Maybe not, but if every time they do something like that, people fuck shit up, I bet you they think twice then.
Well, I'm not really against all the loot and everything, but I feel like people could have like kind of planned it better. Because I mean, breaking it to pharmacies and stuff like that. Well, you know, you got elderly people getting medication and stuff. That's like bad. Because I seen a video the other day. A guy was going on 103rd. I think that was Michigan to the Walgreens over there. He couldn't even get his medication. So, you know, he was heated. Like, yeah, of course you're going to be heated. You need the medication, especially when you're that age. But yeah, but I really don't want to say I'm against it fully, but at the same time, I mean, hey, I'm with it, especially fucking up downtown. Excuse my language. I was with that. But going into y'all neighborhoods with that, like, y'all got to ride powder. Like, man, like, I know I've been riding around, like, I'm looking like, man, my gas station closed, my JJ closed, my Shark closed. Where I'm going to get my food from, good buddy? But no, for real, like, I feel like they could have planned it more, but besides that, I'm all for it. Like, it's about time we take a stand on everything that's going on. Like,
Yeah,
this shit, it's been going on for years. Before we was born, our grandparents seen it, our great grandparents seen it. So it's about time we take a stand on this.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you saying about everything closing. Like, nah, people shouldn't win and fucked up their own neighborhood. Like, you can't go to the grocery store because they closed. They don't want to open back up, busting windows out and setting shit on fire. Especially if they see your neighborhood. I know a lot of women like, damn, they burnt down the beauty supply. I can't go get my wigs. I can't go get this. I can't go. You know what I'm saying? Guys can't get their haircut. We already was in the quarantine. People looking rough and couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Lockdown, blah, blah, blah. They bring National Guard in. It's just a lot of stuff going on. I know for a lot of people, something like that, like it really will affect them mentally. I think especially people who wasn't working.
Yeah, I feel like them was the most frustrated people. So a lot of them really ain't know what the protest is even about. But I mean, they was seizing opportunity. They wrong for that? No, I mean, this is the right time to do it. But man, like I said, messing up neighborhood stores like downtown, they gonna recover. But our neighborhood stores might not recover from this. So I don't think really people like thought about like their stores recovering because yeah, it ain't looking too good.
All in all, it's all messed up. Police doing fucked up shit. People out here doing fucked up shit. I mean, what can you do? But I feel like the loss of a life is a lot worse than the loss of a business, the loss of a property. You can always get material stuff back. But somebody dying and the way they dying, especially like George Floyd, you got 4 cops pinning somebody down, one of them, you know, knee on the neck. That's like an execution if you ask me.
Definitely.
Well, you can say that's equivalent to hanging somebody. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people are really pissed off about it and they're really mad. And it's not just black people. You got black people, white people, Mexican people, everybody. Because it's like, if they do it to us, who would say they want to do it to somebody else? So you got to make a stand. You got to stop it somewhere. And like I said, maybe when they get done tearing shit up, they'll think twice about that. Or they don't want this again. They don't want that again. So it might be a different story. Who knows? You know, we got to just see what's going to happen in the future.
So I've been thinking a lot about the way that I'm feeling at this time, and a lot of conversations with my friends and family members and peers, because I am also taking classes, and professors, and all these different people of all these different walks of life, and how we are all reacting to what's going on. And I think the overall consensus is there is a mix of feelings. Like, it is super just complex. And I also think that is what makes this different this time. If you haven't been living under a rock over the past 5 years, you are aware of the emergence of all of these videos showing Black, brown, even people of all races, but especially Black people being killed in this country for unjustifiable reasons, and the murderers of them by police officers, and their murderers not being held to any sort of justice, or nothing coming out of it, them just being acquitted. And there were always peaceful protests. That's the other thing that kind of annoys me. But I think people who are against the movement for Black and Brown lives and equality are going to find any type of retort to use. But people always say like, "Oh, it's violence." There have always been peaceful protests, and whenever those peaceful protests have come about, nothing comes from it. People don't listen to us. People protest, and then the next day it just blows over. And I think the thing about this time, it is the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the perfect storm for a real revolution to come about. A lot of people don't have the responsibilities of having to physically be at work right now, to physically be in school right now. They have time on their hands to really pay attention to what's going on and act on it. And even beyond that, the financial state of this country and the president and just all these different things that people who weren't listening before, people who weren't even aware of what was going on before, are like, nah, we're not going for this. And I also think that while it is important to have these sort of like this fire in you, the need to do something, not even like the one like, oh, I want to do this, but like you feel like it is your responsibility as a citizen of this world, of this city, of this country, to say something and do something and be a part of the solution. Because I do believe if you are not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. There is no complacency, there is no middle ground here, no gray area. It is no pun intended, black and white. And but with all that being said, it is still important to take care of yourselves. And it is so easy to get wrapped up in being all these other things for other people, or being what you think other people need from you, or what your community needs from your family, your children, your loved ones, your significant others, what other people need from you, and not realizing what you need from you. Do you need to take a step back? Because I am not an anxious person at all. I hardly ever have feelings of true anxiety or fear, really. I have always been someone who's kind of just like go, like just jumping off a cliff and doing whatever, whenever, and whatever happens, happens, and dealing with the repercussions later. But I think this time I had to even take a step back because I broke down. And I've never been arrested. I haven't personally experienced a lot of things and a lot of stories that other people tell, but even though I'm aware of them, and friends, family members, all those things. But even me, there's this feeling of hopelessness that I felt, you know, because we see these things all the time, and I'm only 25 years old. I live with my grandfather. He's 83, and he's always constantly telling me stories. The man that raised me is the man that lived through the civil rights era, whose grandparents were slaves, who's dealing with all these things, and the fact that he has dealt with all these things. And now I'm older, and I'm going to have children maybe in 10 years. And it was just, I just don't want this to be, a generational curse. And that is what it feels like it is becoming, you know. And being black it should not be a curse. It isn't a curse. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. But the way that we are treated in a society, the way that we are treated around across the globe, it just, it's so hard sometimes to be happy. It is so hard to not let these things get to you. It's so hard to just like roll with the punches and letting things roll off of your back. And, I am someone who on a daily basis chooses to ingest things that are indicative of where society is. I don't watch a lot of like fluffy stuff. I'll say I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch the news a lot. I try to stay up to date on politics. I have tough conversations. Right now I'm taking classes, and a lot of my classes have to do with social inequalities in America and across the globe, and marketing and media, and the way the media portrays us, and who controls what, just all these different things. And usually I am and have taken pride in being able to weave all of these things together, and being able to see, the way that all of these things are connected, and, certain patterns, or that have been happening since the beginning of the inception of certain ideas. But I had to take a step back because it was becoming too heavy for even me. So I know that if it's becoming heavy for me, that other people have I understand why some people want to have like an actual blackout and stay away from any sort of media, any type of media, because sometimes, and it is important to take a step back. But I also think that with this opening of the womb, you know, you know, so many people are hurt right now, and when, like, you see from the protests, you see the pain, you see the passion, you see the feelings of, I have literally nothing else to lose, so I'm going to give it my all. You see all these things, and with all of that pain, I think comes the possibility for so much healing. you know there's a lot of conversations going on, even within the Black community itself, of people on different sides of the fence about certain issues. And why I would usually always have a side that I pick. I think that these conversations are important. I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, this isn't the time." This is the time. This is the time for people to, who have different ideas, to talk to one another, because all of our feelings and perspectives are valid. But as much as you're willing to talk and tell your story, you have to be willing to listen and to understand the stories of other people, because that is what's needed right now. If we're going to have a truly equal society, and I don't see it happening anytime soon, but it's going to take work. But I think we're working to start working to get there. But if you're going to do these things, you have to talk, you have to speak up, but you also have to listen. And there are a lot of people who weren't listening to us before listening now. I never thought I'd see the day when Viacom, Nickelodeon would shut down their channel for 9 minutes, 7 minutes, in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. I never thought I'd see the day when Roger Goodell, or the NFL, puts out a statement saying that they support Black Lives Matter, or any sort of, they probably didn't, I don't think they said the Black Lives Matter movement specifically, but to even speak out against these things when they just blackballed Colin Kaepernick. This is an amazing time. What a time to be alive, seriously. But do not squander this opportunity on things that do not matter, and do not subject yourself to any more than you could bear. While everyone, no matter how small or big your part is in this movement, everyone is important, because your life matters. You are an adult. We are people who are a part of the society. We make up these things. But so you need to make sure, like, before you can pour into the cup of others, that yours is full and that yours is good. So I guess my advice, and I am not a mental health professional, would be to check in with yourself. Just as much as people always say, check in with your strong friend, check in with your whatever. Check in with yourself and seriously, do inventory and say like, okay, how am I feeling right now? I don't know, maybe it's journaling. If you're like me, it's writing or literally talking to myself. I talk to myself all the time. Yeah. But just really take inventory on how you're feeling, and to make sure that you don't have those feelings of being burnt out. Right now, a lot of things are starting to get back up again in our communities, whether, things are starting to open up back. So a lot of us are going to have to start physically being back at work, or physically going back to school. And you need to make sure that you have the capacity to do what you need to do and to do what you want to do. Because the worst thing that could ever happen is for you to get to a place where it's too late for you to take care of yourself. So shouts out to everybody out there. Whether you're protesting, donating, just reposting stuff, whether you're having conversations that you've never had before, whether you are taking a step back and letting other people take the reins, whether you're thinking about your future in a way that you've never thought about it before, all of these different things. I think that right now, living in it, it's just like, wow, this time is so crazy. But when we're finally out of this, it is going to be one of the most amazing parts of history. And whether you are out on the front lines or not, you are a part of it. So, take some sort of pride in that, and take some sort of, and use that as like as some sort of beacon of hope too. You know, we have so much power. We have so much power that anybody has ever had before. Especially Black people. We have the opportunity to tell our stories, to show our stories from a first-hand perspective. We don't have to depend on the news or popular media or having all of these resources to do these things. We have it in our hands. We have the world in our hands.
Yo, so as an Army veteran being out here in LA with the protesting, technically, man, in all honesty, it's all fucking white people setting the shit on fire, fucking throwing bottles and shit at the police, man. It's not black people. And this shit's getting on my fucking nerves, bro. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I really don't. And they shooting rubber bullets, specifically at black people for white people's actions. In all honesty, I didn't come back from overseas to be dealing with my own people getting gunned down in the streets, getting shot with rubber bullets for white people's actions. Man, that shit, man, that shit hurt, bro. Like, to defend a flag that don't even defend us.
I want to start off by saying thank you to the ladies at Winedown for offering the space for their audience to share and reflect on what we have been experiencing this past week. If I had to choose 5 emotions to describe what I have been feeling, I would say it would be angry, disappointed, exhausted, anxious, but also motivated. The biggest thing that stood out to me this past week was that for the first time, my white counterparts had to step outside of themselves and actually acknowledge my existence as a Black woman. And that in and of itself is the problem that is white supremacy, right? That it took an uprising in 2020 for white people to recognize that, oh, wow, like there's something going on. It took a pandemic and Black people disrupting their everyday lives, their news, their social media feeds to grasp their attention. But with all that being said, I'm still hopeful. I'm hopeful that this disruption will continue and that this just won't be the trendy thing to do. At this time, I would say I occupy the roles of a guide and a caregiver. As a licensed professional counselor, I provide space for Black women to explore and to process what they've been going through and what we have always been going through, giving them the ability to be seen and to feel heard as well. And in that, it's just been a illuminating experience, but then also being a caregiver. So providing space in terms of group, but then also just within my own friends, having a place to connect and to make space for joy.